Hello once again and welcome back to Boomer Live. We are here previewing England versus Sri Lanka. Massive game on our hands as these both teams clash as one would want to definitely get on top. Sri Lanka coming off a win against Netherlands. England haven't won a single game since they defeated Bangladesh earlier on in the tournament. So they would want to get back in winning ways and Sri Lanka would want to continue their winning momentum. I have Sandeepan and Jaren with me. Sandeepani, such a big game in terms of the context of this tournament as well for England, especially if they lose today, it's almost over for them. And for Sri Lanka as well, they know it's almost over. So whoever loses today will know it's not going to be easy at all for them to make it in the semifinals because now the gap between the top four and the bottom five is getting even, bottom six rather, is getting even more evident as every match is progressing. And today's match is such a big game in terms of the context for both the teams.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you said, both the teams are have just got the one win out of the four games. Sri Lanka still won their last game against Netherlands, but it was a close contest as well. I mean, Netherlands took them to the wire. And also, England, it's been a very disappointing journey for them so far. Lost the game to Afghanistan, had a poor outing against South Africa as well. So
Mhm.
they'd be looking to really make amends for that as well. And also, from the context of it, the team that loses today can reach a total of I think only 10 points at the most, and I think that is not going to cut it off, and then you'll have to start praying for other teams to suddenly hit a pothole because South Africa, Australia, India and New Zealand are going so strong that I think it is very uncharacteristic of it is going to be really uncharacteristic of either of the teams to finish at any points less than 12. So I think if you lose today's games, it's a potential knockout, and I think both the teams are going to come and take the central stage knowing that it is a potential knockout.
Absolutely. It's a good point which you have put up as well. Potential knockout is the term you have used. But Jaren, once again, England winning the toss now and they've chosen to bat. But they made three changes. The three players who were there in the last game, they put them out and brought in these three players. They've understood their mistake is what we believe. But is that a sign of a good team? Because they keep changing and chopping, and that's not what England used to do. At least England had a settled 11. This World Cup, I can understand there's Liam Livingston, whose form was slight bit of concern, or Moeen Ali, who's not really fired as much. But now, again, making those changes, not getting Sam Curran and gotten Chris Wokes, how does that really fare up, especially when it comes to English team against the Sri Lankan team?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shows one thing for sure that there's a lot of uncertainty there as to who can do the job for both the team. I mean, for England at least, and I'm a bit surprised still that someone like a Sam Curran isn't making his way instead of a David Willey. I still rate him higher than a David Willey, but I think it's also got to do with the fact that now they don't really probably they are thinking that Sam Curran has had his chance to prove his worth in this team, and it's time for David Willey to do the same. But I just feel Sam Curran offers more with the ball and with the bat than a David Willey does. At least in the
Yeah.
recent times, that's been the case. But surprising, isn't it, how Sam Curran was their best player in the last T20 World Cup, of course, but still.
Hmm.
And from all the way here to One Day World Cup, where a few matches and he suddenly looks like the player they don't trust. So really surprised with that. And even if I think Chris Woke still not a bad option to bring in. Obviously, lengthens your batting as well, can provide a little bit with the new ball. Considering the fact that they're bowling under the lights, but then he also has a lot to improve, because he's been all over the place. He's been bowling a lot more foolish length when it comes to, as opposed to bowling the good length where you expect to be hitting the top of off. Because this is
Yeah.
India, right? You don't ball very full in India because it's easier for batsmen to drive on the up. So a lot of those errors have been made, and I think it's time he rectifies those. Moeen Ali as well. I think starting of the World Cup, I'd spoken about how Moeen Ali is probably one of the most important players for this England team to do well because
Right.
he's easily the second spinner. He's also been a good player for them. I think he was the fourth highest run getter for them in 2023 and the fifth highest wicket taker. So he's been doing well for them, but at this World Cup again, he's not really lived up to his potential. So I think in many ways there are a lot of issues with this team that none of the players are performing at the same time, and that is the kind of situation you don't want to be as a captain.
Absolutely, I agree with you because a lot of things when it doesn't go well, that's when you start realizing there's a lot of gaping holes in the team, and that's always been the case. Because if you look at this English team prior to the World Cup and now, it's two different narratives what we've been talking about. But Sandeepani, we have to talk about one player who hasn't really done well in this World Cup. It's David Malan. I know he had a good knock here in between against Bangladesh, but other than that, David Malan hasn't really helped this English team scores. And remember, he's someone who's playing ahead of a Jason Roy as well. How big a game is it for David Malan, considering it's going to be a short boundaries, it's going to be better conditions to bat as well. He'll really have to make a statement here, or else they have to think of Harry Brook up top.
Yeah, I think it is a huge game for the England top order, because we have seen them really struggle in the other games apart from the game against Bangladesh. Uh, Say a David Malan still got that huge crucial knock against Bangladesh, but then you have players like Joe Root who have looked not at their best in this tournament, and also you have the likes of Johnny Bairstow, who needs to really step up his game, because it's been long since we have seen a really contributing innings from Johnny Bairstow where he has single-handedly gone on to win the game for England.
Yeah.
Having said that, I think this is the ideal circumstances and the right pitch or conditions that England could have expected. Bat first on a relatively fresh Bangalore's wicket. They might even go on to pose well in excess of 350 if the bat well, because and it's against a Sri Lankan bowling lineup that has actually struggled. In the first three games, you saw Sri Lanka go ahead and concede well in excess of 300 in ease. Australia chased down some 210 in 35 overs. Even a Netherlands team, after being 91 for 6, went on to score 242. So them playing in a flat track in Chinnaswamy is never going to be easy. You also have the likes of Pathirana being dropped and Angelo Matthews coming into the squad. Not sure if he's playing today, but
He
then
is.
then
He
you
is.
have he is
Angelo
right,
He is,
Matthews.
he is playing in the squad, yeah.
but right now Angelo Matthews is not going to provide you the fact the contributions with the ball which you expect from say which he used to do in the last decade or so. So you will have to bank on once again your spinners, which is Thikshana, probably a bit of Dhananjay De Silva, and maybe go to Velalage, or uh, just include some of the part timers of Charita Salanka as well. But I
Yeah.
don't think that is going to stop this fury of England batting, who are going to come back hard after the humiliating loss that they suffered against South Africa on a batting belter of a pitch. So I think today they are going to come out hard, and Sri Lankan bowling is the best thing that could have happened to them right now. And I feel they
Yeah.
can post well in excess of 350, even a 400 total, if they play smartly and play well.
Absolutely. I know somebody mentioned about Angelo Matthews. Let's talk from a Sri Lankan perspective. He's always been a player who's come to save Sri Lanka out of all the holes whenever they've been in the last one decade. And once again, he's brought into the squad to save this team. Where do you see him slot in for? You cannot put him as a finisher. I know he did a good job finishing games in the LPL, but for this team, at least you would want to see him at number 5, number 6, at least with maybe Dhananjay De Silva at 7 and maybe Charita Salanka at 6.
But I think, as far as I'm aware, he's been slotted as a finisher. I think he's the last batter who will be coming in according to the playing 11, at
I
least
think
at
so.
this point in time. And I think it probably, if there's one place, one thing that I probably might just do is, switch Dhananjay De Silva and Angelo Matthews. But then, at this point in time, I mean, a bigger question is also going to be, is someone like Angelo Matthews, I mean, does he deserve to play up the order? Because, when someone new comes in and you only push them up the order if you feel like they can still do the job. And he's not played a lot of one-day cricket. It's not like you dropped him for no reason or he was unfit. He's only played 3 one-dayers. In fact, in the last 3 years, he's only played 7 one-dayers, and he's had he's had a very low average. I think in 2020 he scored just 18 runs of his 3 matches. 2021 just played 1 match, scored 5, and this year he's just played 3 and he scored 30 in that. So you really know that he's not been the same Angelo Matthews of the past, where he would come in and be that player who would, the clutch player, really, who would save Sri Lanka out of those tough situations. He's really had a drop in his batting and bowling. Bowling is, I think, pretty much non-existent at this point in time, like
Yeah.
Sandeep Mani mentioned, and batting's the only reason why he's in the squad. So a little bit, I mean, I'm not really surprised as well, because you're right, Abel. He's done well in LPL, but the question is, can he convert that to one-day format? Because you've seen, at least this World Cup has shown one thing, that there is a big chasm between T20 skills and one-day skills, and I mean, I
Yeah, I
still am
think
a
the
little
main
bit.
problem. Yeah, I think the main trouble for Sri Lanka has been the fact that their captain has to miss out unfortunately, because you saw
Yeah,
Dasun Shanaka over the years
Yeah.
has improved as a finisher for them, and then he was doing a decent enough job with the ball as well as their third or fourth seamer. But the problem with Angelo Matthews is what I feel is over the last 2 3 years, he himself had taken this role of being more of a test player than an ODI player. He was focusing on
Yeah.
test matches. He was focusing on keeping his fitness so that he could increase his longevity and go on for a longer period of time.
Right.
And hence I think this selection I think is a very desperate measure that Sri Lanka has taken right now, because I don't see
yeah,
an Angelo Matthews fitting in this Sri Lankan side. But even if you have to play him, given his record, recent record in the LPL, and also the fact that he has been your
Yeah.
experienced player and he's one of the best batters in the test format for Sri Lanka right now as well. So you can just slot him in at number 5. I think he's a total misfit at number 7. And also I feel players like Dhananjay De Silva and Charith Asalanka, if they're put under pressure, they can do the job of a finisher coming in at number 6, number 7. We
Right.
saw that the role that Dhananjay De Silva played against Netherlands was not exactly his role, to come in and go at a required rate of say 5 runs per over, 4.5 runs per over, where you just have to knock the ball around. I think he's a much more charismatic player. He loves to be aggressive. And same is the case with Charith Asalanka as well. So I think number 6, number 7 should go to Asalanka and Dhananjay De Silva. I don't know how well Matthews can cope up with the role of coming in at number 7, trying to finish the job for Sri Lanka. So I think just to get him settled into the team, you should just place him at number 5. Having said that, this is desperate times for Sri Lanka and England as well. Both will be desperate to get this win. And the team that loses, I don't see them making it to the top 4 or even close to the upper half of the table.
Right. Makes sense because such a big game. But also, one other factor with Sri Lanka has been their bowling, right? Similarly with England, both their teams have been extremely below par in the bowling. And if you talk especially about Sri Lanka, the bowling has been one of the worst in this tournament. How are they going to better it? Now the ground conditions are only going to get even worse for them. Now just look at the way in which they've got their spinners. Mahesh Tikshana can possibly bowl in a Chinnaswamy condition. But if you look at Dhananjay De Silva for that matter, or Charith Asalanka, if you want to roll his arm over, the fifth bowling is again going to be a major issue for them because they do not have a fifth bowling option. They've added a Kasun Rajita today. They've gone with the Lahiru Kumara, but that is where the major issue lies, isn't it?
I think
How
they are
are they
heavily,
going to
heavily relying on players like Rajita and Madhushanka to give them a proper start. Because if you see, Madhushanka was the joint leading wicket taker after all the teams had played their 4 games. He has picked up 11 wickets in the last 4 games. He's giving them off to a good start. He's picking up early wickets, even in the games where are losing. I mean, by a huge margin or so, he's coming in and picking up wickets early on. In the game against Pakistan, he was really effective. In the game against South Africa as well, he was their least worst bowler, because I think everybody traveled in that game. So I think they are banking on early wickets from a Rajita and a Madhushanka, something similar to what they did in the game against Netherlands. I don't know whether they'll be able to replicate it against England. And even if they're able to replicate it and pick up 3 to 4 early wickets of England, I don't see England, slowing down. I think today England are going to come out all guns blazing, and in a batting track, in a track which will suit the batters, in a flat track. I really don't understand the selection of Lahiru Kumara. Probably they did not have any other options, because I think Lahiru Kumara looked pretty flat in the game against Netherlands as well.
Absolutely. I think today's condition is only going to be more daunting for someone like Lahira Kumara. But let's just shift focus. For England, Ben Stokes is a massive addition. In the last game as well, he played. But how big a factor is it going to be in a ground like Chinnaswamy? For both Ben Stokes and also for Josh Butler, this is such a vital game for them both to come in form and to absolutely lay the impetus for them to score in excess of 360, 370, as Sandeep you mentioned, Jared.
yeah. They need a lot of their middle order. Again, I think their issues are once again the middle order. Because I know their openers haven't really dazzled, but to be frank, to be fair to those guys, at least you would say that they've provided a decent start in most games. It's just been that middle order is really not stood up, and that's also where they've had most of their changes, right? And that's very surprising in many ways, because you would have to say, when you saw this team enter into the World Cup, you probably expected them to have no issues in the middle order, especially after the addition of Ben Stokes. I wonder their opening, right? Because Jason Roy was selected, and Darwin Moran was the question. If you look, that's been the biggest issue. How do you trust the middle order to do a job going? I think today they still not feel that much comfortable, because I think Sterling might not challenge a lot. As someone rightly mentioned, the only team who's done decent enough and even put up a performance which is worthy of not worthy of a World Cup, but at least manageable in a World Cup is Madhushanka and Rajita. Everyone else has travelled, and now that Patirana is gone, he's injured, he's ruled out of the World Cup. I don't really know if this team has got their teeth to really trouble this team anymore. But if you remove that, so I think today they won't find that much of an issue. But leading into this, into the few matches, their middle order still remains an issue. Now today you have asked a Harry Brook to sit outside, who was your big call, because you asked Jason Roy to not come to the World Cup, brought in a Harry Brook. Now that has failed at least at this point in time. You've brought in now Liam Livingston back in. But now the question is, I think this team requires a Joe Root and a Ben Stokes and a Josh Butler to play the long innings. Without these three lads playing the long innings, I think England will always struggle. Because if you look at batters like Liam Livingston, Moeen Ali, even a Chris Vokes, right? They're batters who live by the sword, die by the sword. So they're going to go after the bowling. There's going to be an opportunity that's going to arise. So the more balls they face, the more in trouble England gets. So these three lads, right, Butler, Stokes, and Root, they need to up their game, or else England will struggle and continue to struggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is what we have to say about Harry Brook's selection as well. So I think the only person that should get sacked right now is I've been calling for Luke Wright's head for a long time, because barring somebody of Jason Roy's caliber with the form that he was leading to in this World Cup was absolutely a massacre, and it's not justified. You see the playing 11 today, and you see that there is no place for Harry Brooks. And probably now they are looking at a Harry Brooks as a replacement for the opener. If either of David Malan or Johnny Bairstow gets injured, or probably to rest either of the two, they can probably get in a Harry Brooks, who was supposed to be their X Factor player. So I think it was a brain fade moment from them as well. They just packed the 11 or the 15 players with all the ammunition that they had, instead of thinking as to where they can actually pit all the players. Because I still feel David Malan would have been ideal at number 3 for them. Joe Root was not playing in ODIs the way he should. Before the World Cup, he did not have that sort of form. So I think they had to take some hard calls, probably taking Joe Root in the 15. But I feel this England team deserves a Jason Roy even more than a Joe Root. And even a Ben Stokes, I mean, just coming out of retirement and asking him to play. You have done that with Moeen Ali in the past as well. You have done that to Moeen Ali right now as well. And I think these sort of calls or decisions just takes a lot away from players, even from that point of view where they had actually retired, and you're asking them to come back to play the World Cup, and they're coming and just going back on their own words. So according to me, I think it's a very personal opinion. I feel the players tend to lose a bit of respect each time they do this. And that is why we make a lot of fun on players like Shahid Afridi, who has probably retired 7 to 8 times in his career. So you should not use the word retired so lightly that you just go back, or just use the word that you will stay away from the game for some time. Something which Kohli did. 2-3 months without the game, came back, looked best. So I think the retired word is losing its importance, and players like Moeen Ali, Ben Stokes coming in and getting that quota, ODI quota to play, just because they are a good test player does not mean that they can bring that form, bring that thing into the white ball game as well. Because there are lots of talents in this England domestic cricket as well, in the list test setup, where they are performing exceedingly well but not getting a call up. So I think it was really unfair from the selectors. It's good to rely on experience, something which India did as well in the last moment. They called in a Ashwin, they called in a Mohammad Shami, but they have had enough game time to get ready for the main World Cup. Something which Ben Stokes did not have because of the injury as well. So I think there are lots of question marks in the selection committee itself, and hence you should call for the head, because I think England as a unit, I think they have one of the best teams. And if it was some other time, if they had some bit of luck with them, this team can easily go on to win the World Cup. They are one of the more balanced teams, where you have batters till number 11 and bowler 8 to 9 bowling options. What else do you need in a World Cup winning side?
Absolutely. But let's look from a Sri Lankan perspective as well. How much would they ideally want to chase in a ground like this? Remember, in the Pakistan vs Australia game, you saw the pitch slowing down incredibly towards the last 10 overs. And the last 10 overs where scoring was extremely hard, the ball wasn't coming onto the bat. What do you reckon could be an ideal total Sri Lanka would be looking to restrict England from here on? Because if England get off to a good start, they can go and score well in excess of 350, 360. That's going to be a Herculean task to chase, regardless of the ground being Chinnaswamy or not. For a team like Sri Lanka, who's slightly underconfident at this point, they would want to restrict England to a 300, 320 orders in the Jaren. You're on mute.
Yeah, I think anything below 325 is what Sri Lanka will hope for. Because it's obviously Chinnaswamy. You can't really expect England to score below 300, and obviously it's a small ground. And you know for a fact that it's going to be tough to really restrict them and defend these small boundaries. I mean, you would really know about this, won't you? I mean, when it comes to IPL, every second innings team ends up winning the match. So in many ways 325 or less, but one thing's for sure, their batting is done a lot better than their bowling has, and that's absolutely no doubts about it, that Sri Lankan bowling is the reason why they have been let down so many times. So I think 325, 330, maybe even a 350 on a good day for them can be chased in a ground like Chinnaswamy. And from what we are hearing from the pitch report, it seems like a decent pitch to bat on. I think there'll be a little bit more turn than a few other matches, but aside from that, it won't be that difficult to pitch to bat on. So 350 to 325 is probably the par score, and anything below 325 is what Sri Lanka will hope England scores.
Absolutely.
And
But
it's
for
interesting to note that England won the toss and elected to bat first, which just gives you the clear indication that they want to
Yeah.
bat Sri Lanka out of the game. They are just going to make a statement like
No, I think Sandivan, it also shows that they're not confident with the batting. Because that's pretty much England since 2015 has loved to chase. They don't like
But if you
setting
look
up.
in the World Cup, that's been the case, Jaren. We've been talking about it for the last 3 days.
Yeah, but you see England,
Teams
right?
have preferred to bat first
You've
and bat
always
teams
seen.
out.
Yeah,
But
true.
why
I
is
agree
that?
with that, and that's been
Yeah,
the
I
trend.
mean,
This
why
World
is that?
Cup.
Because the teams which are batting first are just taking the game out of the opposition's reach in the first innings itself.
Absolutely, yeah.
I agree with
And it
you.
also helps the
Have you
NRR as
seen?
well. Imagine if
Yeah,
England scored 370, 380, and if they
yeah.
get Sri Lanka out for 240, 250, that's a massive win. Until as you want to chase anything in excess of 250, 280 in 35, 40 overs, that's extremely hard. That's where you're putting yourself at risk as well.
True, I agree with that. But when have you seen England follow trends before? England has always followed what's been their
But
strength,
this World Cup
and the
has been
fact that
all
they're
about
following
teams
trends.
batting first, isn't it? Can we just look at the trend of this World Cup in particular? Let's just not look at what England's trend has been.
Just look at the
The
I
last
last
two
agree,
couple
I
games
of
in
agree with
India.
you
years,
there.
every
But
other
my
team wants to
point
bat
being
first.
able, I think when you're facing a team like Sri Lanka, you're not really worried they're gonna walk you out of the. I mean, they're gonna destroy your team at least when you believe you've got the bowling. But I agree with you in many ways, the conditions and everything else. But I think only thing that has really been the difference between the team chasing and the team batting first for me is not been the pitch. It's been the fact that the ball has moved a lot more under the lights, and it's understandable for any team to try and avoid that. But we've never seen England actively want to, bat first. That's always been something that they've been against until and unless the conditions are so far in favor of that. We've never seen England do that, and I think that's a point to be noted as well. I'm not saying that it's a dumb decision or it's a bad decision in any way. It's just that England has always preferred to chase, regardless of the conditions, unless the condition has been so far in that favorable of that outcome or that of batting first.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think
And
that's
if I
all.
have to get in a counter argument, I can say that in the game against Australia and Pakistan, Australia did go on to post a huge total, 367, and Pakistan were behind chasing the game throughout, but they were in the game till the 38th or 39th over. So the new ball actually did not trouble them. Probably we'll get to see more spin today. But then once again, you can argue apart from Adil Rashid, you don't have even proper spinners in that England lineup as well. Liam Livingstone, Moeen Ali, they are more of, Liam Livingston can still turn it more than a Moeen Ali, but I think he's more of finger spinner than getting the ball to actually spin a mile. So I think
Yeah.
the ball spinning
But
more
I
is
still
not
think
going
Sri
to really help
Lanka
them.
will not be challenged by any of England's spinners at this point. Maybe if Adil Rashid really balls well
Absolutely.
Exactly. No, no,
in
no.
that
Because I
ground.
think Angelo Matthews, Dhananjay De Silva, even a Charita Salanka are really good players of spin. That's
And
one
not just
complaint
that,
that you can't
Jessor,
have from a
Kushal Mendes,
subcontinent
or
country.
even Kushal Pereira, everyone
Yeah.
will really enjoy that spinners coming into them. And I think with Chinnaswamy being the ground today, I think you can expect spinners to go for a lot of runs. Until and
It is a
unless,
gamble.
if
Exactly, it is a
if at all
gamble.
if at all
England are
England
taking a
gets
gamble.
out for 280, 290, this is going to be a very interesting game which we'll have on our hands, because then England will have the pressure to defend. Remember, England hasn't been the best of bowling attacks. Alongside Sri Lanka, we can put England in a very similar pedestrian to be one of the lower ranked bowling attacks of this World Cup. I'll say Sri Lanka, Pakistan, England, all come in a very similar level in this World Cup. Unfortunately, that we're taking Pakistan as well, but we have to because that's how poor they've been. But at least when it comes to Pakistan, the fielding has been extremely poor as well. That's not been the case with the other couple of teams which I just mentioned. So they have a job in their hands. All these three teams, it's a bottom of the table clash, which we were never spoken about 4 years ago.
It's a knockout.
Yeah, and remember last match in the World Cup, England and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka got the better of England in the 2019 World Cup, so they want to do
With
something.
a win
That's what-
probability of less than 5%.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what I'm talking about. This is a very interesting clash because of the ground. You never know which so I mean, any team.
But England have already had their upset of this tournament, right? They are not going to. I don't
Who
think they're
knows?
going to stumble.
They've had an upsetting tournament rather than upset of the tournament. So that's what it's been so far. Than looking at what it's looked like. But at least let's hope it's a good game. What we have, other than the last 3 days, 4 days, it's been all one-sided. So I hope it's a interesting clash. That's one thing which Chinnaswamy always
No,
provides.
Then
interestingly
you have
enough,
to
I
hope
think
England does not walk away with the game in the first innings itself and score
with the
something in
match
excess of 400.
beginning itself, Sri Lanka already kind of messed up. I think the first ball, Bairstow should have been given out. It was an appeal. They did not go for a review, and it shows that he was out on the first ball. I mean, could have been a completely different game from there on in, because we know how exposed England's middle order is starting from June.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I would say it's been that kind of a World Cup for both the teams, I would say.
absolutely. So that's about it from us for today. I mean, we'll be back after the game. So the game is well underway. 3 runs after 1.1 overs, and definitely Madhushankar balled well. Bairstow is there in the crease with a David Malan. Let's see what the score prediction. If you are here watching us, do let us know in the comments what you reckon in England will score at the end of 50 overs, and also do let us know who will be the man of the match in today's game as well. So if you haven't already played for today, if you haven't already checked out Boomer 11 app, check it out for tomorrow's game, South Africa versus Pakistan. And also, do not forget to check out the predictor feature with Boomer 11 as well. This is your opportunity. Do like and subscribe to our channel, and also share this video with as many people as possible so that it really helps us with our algorithms. Take care and see you all very soon. Stay safe. I think,
Bye-bye,
yeah.
guys.
Bye.